Fossils are not just remains, they are messages from a vanished world, whispering their secrets to stone. Earth has always kept secrets. Beneath layers of time lies a world we can hardly imagine. Forests of ferns taller than buildings, skies ruled by winged giants, and oceans teeming with creatures stranger than nightmares itself. For most of human history, these stories stayed buried. We lived in a forgotten epilogue, unaware that entire chapters of life had already been erased and rewritten several times. Then only 200 years ago, curiosity struck like lightning. A handful of fossil hunters, armed with little more than pickaxes and imagination, began chiseling up the past, until they unearthed bones, too colossal to explain, and teeth sharpened for battles, home or lost to eons. These discoveries didn't just rewrite textbooks, they redefined humanity's place inside time. Dinosaurs became time travelers, bridging millions of years to teach us that extinction isn't an end, but a beginning. From the first misnamed giant lizard to feathered predators that blurred the line between monster and bird, each fossil cracked the door wider to a past where life was wilder, bolder, and more fragile than we ever dreamed. This is the story of 7 breakthroughs that turned stumbling guesses into groundbreaking sciences. This showed us that Earth's greatest wonders aren't always hidden, sometimes they're right beneath our feet, waiting for someone bold enough to listen to. Now imagine stumbling upon a pile of bones so large, so alien, that their only explanation feels like fiction. That's exactly what happened in 1824 when geologist William Buckland unveiled the Megalosaurus, the very first dinosaur ever named. At the time, there was no framework for understanding these fossils. The word dinosaur wouldn't exist for another 18 years, and the idea of Earth hosting ancient giants was pure blasphemy to many. Buckland's conclusion was that it had to be a long-extinct lizard, just a very colossal one, like a crocodile pumped up to bust-sized proportions. But here's the thing, Buckland's great lizard was a Frankenstein of fossil fragments. He didn't have a complete skeleton, so he filled gaps with guesswork and comparison to living animals. His Megalosaurus lumbered on 4 legs, wallowed in swamps, and lacked the sleek predator profile we know today. Modern science now paints it as a bipedal hunter, a cousin of Tyrannosaurus rex, roaming Jurassic forests with razor teeth and unmatched brawn. Yet Buckland's flawed vision was revolutionary. For the very first time, science dared to claim that Earth's history wasn't a static backdrop, it was a graveyard of forgotten giants. This great lizard wasn't just a mislabeled fossil, behind it surged questions no one had asked before. How old is our planet? And what else is buried out there? Megalosaurus didn't give us answers, it gave us permission to seek, where 2 centuries later, it stands a reminder that discovery isn't just about being right, it's about daring to look down, digging deeper, and letting the bones speak for themselves. But of all the dinosaur discoveries, few have been as delightfully chaotic as the story of the Iguanodon. In 1825, doctor and amateur geologist Gideon Mantell, along with his wife, Marianne Mantell, stumbled across a set of fossilized teeth in southern England. They looked suspiciously like iguana teeth, but scaled up to the size of lemons. Mantell's conclusion was a massive plant-eating lizard with a rhino's build and bizarrely a horn on its nose. Thus Iguanodon, aka iguana tooth, had been born. For decades, this horn became its defining feature. Artists sketched it as a slow-walking beast with a nose spike for combat. But in 1878, miners in Belgium uncovered a treasure trove of 31 Iguanodon skeletons, piled together, preserved in stunning detail. Suddenly, scientists noticed something odd. That horn wasn't on its nose, it was a massive thumb spike, likely used to fend off predators or strip off leaves from branches. So the dinosaur's true posture wasn't a lumbering tank, but a nimble, bipedal herbivore that moved in herds. This discovery wasn't just a correction, it was a revolution. Iguanodon became proof that dinosaurs weren't all solitary monsters. They lived in communities, migrated, and cared for their young. It also exposed how easy it is to misinterpret fragments of the past. Mantell's horned lizard was wrong, but his curiosity sparked a chain reaction. By 1854, life-sized Iguanodon sculptures dazzled crowds at London's Crystal Palace, though they still look like chubby dragons with noses in the air. Today, its thumb spike stands as a symbol of science's greatest truth. We don't find answers, we stumble towards them, and sometimes we trip over 31 skeletons along the way. Science is rarely a quiet affair, but in the late 1800s, paleontology turned into a blood sport. Meet Othniel Marsh and Edward Cope, 2 brilliant, stubborn men whose rivalry rewrote the rules of discovery. It all began as a friendly competition. Marsh, a Yale professor, and Cope, a self-tainted prodigy, both bonded over their love for fossils. But when Cope accidentally reconstructed a Megalosaurus skeleton with its head on the wrong end, Marsh publicly ridiculed him, and the feud spiraled into chaos. What followed was a 20-year race to name more dinosaurs than the other. They hired gangs of fossil hunters to scour the American West, bribing locals to send them bones or sabotage dig sites. Marsh's crew once fled a canyon under gunfire from Cope's men. Cope published papers just to spite Marsh, once describing his species in 24 hours flat. The madness paid off. Marsh uncovered Triceratops and Brontosaurus. Cope dug up Dimetrodon, which isn't even a dinosaur, but something else older and even better. Together, they named over 130 species, but speed had come at a cost. Sloppy work, duplicate species, and fossils smashed in haste. The Bone Wars bankrupted both men and tarnished their reputations. Yet this era reshaped science, where their rivalry pushed dinosaurs into mainstream culture, splashing their names across newspapers and igniting public fascination. Museums suddenly carved skeletons for the sake of the crowds. More importantly, the discoveries proved that North America was a dinosaur hotspot, and that extinction wasn't a single event, but a slow unraveling. Marsh and Cope died bitter, but their legacy isn't just a species they named. It's a realization that science isn't some noble quest for the truth. It's human, messy, competitive, and prone to tantrums, but always pushing forward. The Bone Wars didn't just give us dinosaurs, they also gave us a story about how obsession, for better or worse, fuels progress. In 1899, the dinosaur world got its first celebrity, a creature so long its skeleton couldn't fit in most museums. Meet Diplodocus, the double-beamed sauropod, unearthed in Wyoming by railroad workers and later championed by steel tycoon Andrew Carnegie. At 25.5 meters from nose to tail, it was the longest dinosaur ever found. But its true legacy wasn't its size, it was its role as science's first global ambassador. Carnegie had a reckless intent on outdoing European aristocrats. He commissioned a near-complete Diplodocus skeleton for his Pittsburgh museum. Eventually, going on even further, he gifted exact replicas to kings and presidents worldwide. London, Paris, and even the Vatican received their own Dippy, as the dinosaur became affectionately known. Overnight, Diplodocus turned into a symbol of prestige and made paleontology mainstream. Crowds flocked to marvel at its whip-like tail and pencil-shaped teeth, which had been proof that giants once roamed their own backyards. This fossil did more than dazzling the public. It forced scientists to rethink biology. How did a creature with a neck longer than a school bus pump blood into its head? And how did it move without crushing its own limbs? Diplodocus shredded assumptions about size limits within land animals, revealing that dinosaurs weren't just big, they were also optimized. Their hollow bones, air sac systems, and posture were truly engineering marvels. Later on, for over a century, dinosaurs were depicted as scaled, reptilian beasts. Then in 1996, a farmer in Liaoning, China, cracked open a slab of rock and shattered that image forever. Inside was the Signatopteryx, a turkey-sized predator preserved in stunning detail, its body cloaked in a fuzzy halo of proto-feathers. But this wasn't just a bird, it was a dinosaur with filaments proving feathers evolved long before flight. This discovery ignited a gold rush in China's Yixian Formation, where volcanic ash had fossilized dinosaurs like prehistoric snapshots. We realized feathers weren't just for flight, they were insulation, camouflage, perhaps even neon displays for courting mates. So we concluded that dinosaurs weren't all just dull sluggish reptiles. They were more of a dynamic species, colorful and intimately linked to birds. This rewrote evolution itself. Birds didn't just descend from dinosaurs, they are dinosaurs. The branch that included Tyrannosaurus and Velociraptor never went extinct. It thrives today in sparrows, eagles, and finches. That's why the feathered dinosaur evolution did more than update textbooks. It blurred the line between ancient and modern, showing that evolution repurposes old tools for new survival tricks. Suddenly, the asteroid that ended the Cretaceous wasn't just a tragedy, it was a filter, sparing a handful of small, feathered survivors to inherit the Earth. Some secrets hide in plain sight. For a decade after Walter and Luis Alvarez proposed a cosmic culprit for the dinosaurs' extinction in 1980, skeptics dismissed the asteroid hypothesis as sensational. That was until 1991, where geologists drilling near Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula struck not oil but shocked quartz, a mineral forged only under catastrophic pressure. They'd found the smoking gun, the 175-kilometer wide Chicxulub crater, buried under limestone and time. This crater had told the story of Earth's worst day. 66 million years ago, an asteroid 11 kilometers wide punched through the atmosphere at 72,000 kilometers per hour, vaporizing seawater and carving a cavity 30 kilometers deep. The impact unleashed wildfires, mega tsunamis, and a global nuclear winter that choked the skies for decades, but Chicxulub did more than confirm dinosaur deaths in a blaze of bad luck. It rewired our understanding of extinction. This discovery also revealed the survivors' ingenuity. Today, Chicxulub serves as a humbling reminder. Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for 165 million years, until a rock from the void reset the clock. Science often solves mysteries, and this one taught us to respect the universe and the fragility of even the mightiest dynasties. In 1952, a Chinese construction crew blasted through rock in the Sichuan province and unearthed a dinosaur so strange that it redefined sauropods. Mamenchisaurus, named from the Mandarin Horse Gate stream, boasted a neck stretching 15 meters long, half its total length. It was a living crane built to graze treetops, untouched by rivals. But this Jurassic giant's true legacy wasn't anatomical. It ignited China's dinosaur boom and exposed the thorny politics of fossil ownership. For decades, China's fossil gems were excavated by foreign teams. Mamenchisaurus became a rallying cry for domestic science. By the 1980s, China's Dash and Poo Formation discovered the Dinosaurs, a club-tailed sauropod, and Iguanodon, a predator similar to the T-Rex. But as China's fossil wealth grew, so did tensions. Strict laws now nationalize significant finds, yet black markets still thrive. Rare specimens like the amber-trapped Cretaceous birds from nearby Myanmar often vanish into private collections or labs overseas before Chinese researchers can study them. Mamenchisaurus sits at the center of this clash. Meanwhile, China's state-funded digs prioritize national glory, branding finds like the dinosaur-rich Pompeii of the Cretaceous as cultural birthrights. This boom reshaped paleontology, but at a cost. Collaboration is laced with distrust, and fossils risk becoming political trophies. What was once a marvel of evolution now mirrors humanity's struggle to balance discovery with ethics. With that being said, from the first fossil mistaken for a giant lizard to feathered dinosaurs rewriting evolution arcs, these 7 discoveries aren't just about bones, they are about us. They expose humanity's audacity to ask what came before us. Even when answers append our myths, the saga of dinosaurs mirrors our own. Yet the story isn't over. The next chapter of discovery won't just lie in deep rocks. It will unfold in labs, ethical debates, and the cosmos. So what else is left to unearth? That's a question only the future holds. And if you reach this point, subscribe and join us in the wild past.